Calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Bobbing, calling Cobb Bobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, 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 Bob Cobbing, calling 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 Bob Cobbing, bowling, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, bowling Cobb Cobbing, calling Cobb Cobbing, calling Cobb Bobbing, calling Cobb Bobbing, calling Cobb Bobbing, calling Cobb Bobbling, calling Cobb Bobbin, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Cobb Gobbin, calling Cobb Gobbing, calling Cobb Gobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Cobb Gobbing, calling Cobb Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Cobb Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Cobb Cobbling, calling Bob 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 Cobbling, calling Cobb Cobbling, calling Bob 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 Cobbing, 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 calling Cobb Bobbing, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Bob Cobbing, calling blah blah bling, calling Cobb Bobbling, calling Cobb Bobbling, calling Cobb Bobbling, calling Cobb Bobbling, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Cobb Bobbling, calling Bob Cobbling, 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 calling Cobb Goblin, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Cobb Bobbling, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Cobb Bobbling, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Cobb Bobbling, calling Cobb Bobbling, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Bob Cobbling, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Cobb Bobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Bob Hopkins, calling Bob Cobbing, calling Cobb Bobbing, calling Bob Cobbing, calling